Holy cow. Live broadcast or episode or whatever you want to call it, man. This is kind of crazy. We're live. And my phone is buzzing. Anyways, this episode's gonna kind of be about marriage and whether marriage is like dead for like the upcoming generation, as in generation like the millennials. We're up and coming. We're kind of like hot and heavy, We're hot and heavy right now. Me, myself, being a millennial, only age 18. I feel like I do kind of contribute to the millennials. As much as I hate to say it, I feel like I am definitely a contributor to the millennial vibe. But the main topic is like marriage and like whether it's quote unquote dead or not. Because honestly, marriage is coming less and less common. You don't see a whole lot of people putting the ring on the finger anymore. They're dating, and they're having kids, and they're living a whole life just like you do when you're married. They just pretty much are. It's a fine line between separating finances and like just not having the money to do it, if you will. Sorry, I just got a text. But I feel like a lot of people don't get married because of finances. And like I don't know if that's just because like people these days aren't getting successful careers or what, but like I feel like there's a lot of successful businessmen and people in successful careers in health, medical fields, whatever, and they're married generally. And there's a lot of people who aren't in those higher tier fields, like middle class, lower class, who just aren't getting married. It's kind of hard to determine because each couple you ask has a different opinion. So like, is it dead? No. People definitely are still going to get married, and people will continue to get married, and they're not going to take marriage away. That's been a thing that's been around for God knows how long. And marriage doesn't really, it's not out the door. It's just becoming less common because of the careers Americans are taking, the easy way out that they're choosing to do. In my personal opinion, people in America specifically are choosing the easy way out. Nobody's living that American dream. Nobody's really pushing and setting high goals. And if they are, they're just dreams. They're not really something they're going to achieve. People aren't really striving for greatness. LeBron James, I hate to quote it there, but couples these days aren't, or people these days in America are not what we used to be. There's a lot of short corners, shortcuts, you know what I mean? The American dream is starting to die as well. At this point, we're just a quote-unquote free country, and this is part of the reason marriage is dying. Marriage is being used for like green cards and stuff nowadays, and it's just marriage isn't what it used to be. In the evolution of marriage, it's changed so much. It's starting to turn people off from the idea in general. Marriage used to be, we're gonna reproduce, we're gonna have nice kids and family and show them the ropes. We're gonna work hard in our job fields and we're gonna have fun along the way. It's gonna be adventurous. And nowadays marriage is, getting back to, well, where's my dinner? And since this is such a controversial world nowadays, there's no way it's going back to what it was in the 40s, where it's like, where's my dinner? Like the wife's making the dinner on the table. And nowadays that's what the men are desiring. Like they want to come home from doing absolutely, by the way, nothing at work because they're taking the shortcut, and they expect to come home and their wife fucking have their meal waiting for you. Which isn't right at all. There's some really good marriages out there these days, though, that are healthy, happy marriages with kids. But there's also a huge community of people who don't want to get married because they just want to mess around with other people. and have a quote-unquote side hose, where I'm a man who just wants to have his one girl and have goals with that person and reach those goals with that person and achieve the life that they want to achieve together and find that one common goal and find the happy medium and achieve it as a unit, if you will, and combine those bank accounts. What else would you want in a marriage other than happiness and equality between the two, who have equal jobs and they do equal amounts of work, and they aren't so fed up with themselves. You know what I mean? People are so self-absorbed these days, and they don't really take the time to treat others with significant respect. Everything's about me these days, and it's not about like, hey, how can I help you? And in my personal experience with the relationship that I'm in, it's more of a let me help you, you don't need to help me. So that's a big good in the relationship that I'm in, is it's I'm gonna help you, you don't need to help me so much. And honestly, without the support we supply to each other, there wouldn't be this happy daily happiness. Couples these days, if they are married or aren't married, there isn't the daily happiness. It's a lot of fighting, and they're just like, this is the normal, and they're not going to break up with each other, and they're not going to fix it, and they're not going to do anything about it, because there's nothing for them in their eyes to fix, when in reality there's so much to fix. There is financial issues, there are goal issues, there are common interest issues, and there are loyalty issues in these relationships. And this is creating a toxic society where people think that they can do what they want when they want to do it, and they shouldn't have that mindset at all. The mindset should be, how do I get better? How do I impress you to make you live a happier life than what we're living, even though it's great? You should wake up and be, wow, I'm happy to have you by my side, instead of waking up and go, wow, my alarm didn't go off and it's your fault. Like the stupid small things that are coming up in marriages these days, and they're resulting in terrible divorces or terrible breakups, because they don't solve the small problems along the way. And when the small problems aren't solved, the big issues come up. Now, I grew up in a couple households. Deadbeat father who had done some wrong. And I had pretty much two families. Not mom and dad side, like mom's side, and a really close family friend side. And I was at that house a lot, and I had like pretty much non-blood brothers, but they're my brothers nonetheless. And I spent so much time with them, and I pretty much lived at that house, and I went back and forth, mom's in their house all the time, and trying to find the steady ground. And the steady ground was the kids that I was spending my days with. So it's really pretty much growing up in a household that's pretty much two moms. It's not a bad way to grow up, but you lose a lot of the childhood moments because you don't have your parents. You don't have both your parents, and a lot of kids are living this life this today. But now I'm adopted, mind you. So I went through a lot of lawyer stuff, so I had to get my name changed, and I had my license, so I had to get a new license, new social security card, and I had to go through all this stuff because I was adopted at a late age. And there was so much that was out of my control because of the marriage that was before. The marriage that destroyed two people, and they had to rebuild themselves up, and I had to be in the middle of that. So when the one person was destroyed the other and just ditched, and then the one person was left trying to rebuild themselves with no support because her kids are too young to help, and it's hard to pay for everything because you're solo. So at least you have the support system of another family to help keep your kid occupied and supported, and take them to their sporting events. And while the parent that has just broken and destroyed, is working hard 12-hour days to put food on the table at night, and it's in the typical divorced home right now. There are kids who are playing in the park, not understanding the struggles that are going on at home with their mom or dad who is a single parent. And in high school, middle school, elementary kids, students are growing up knowing that their parents are living these single parent lives, and they're in the midst of it, and they have no control over helping because they can't get a job and help. Their part-time job of $200 a month ain't gonna do much except for pay for their own maybe gas as a teenager, or to car payment to help their parents pay for their car or something. It's not gonna contribute enough towards the family needs, you know what I'm saying? And the only way that they would do that is drop out, and that is a lot of what's happening. Students are dropping out of high school so that they can go home and work. And you know what this causes? A lot of people are trying to get their GEDs. And you know what GEDs do? Not as much as a diploma would do. I'm not bashing GEDs. I'm not bashing kids for dropping out. But this is causing terrible things. GEDs do just as much as diplomas do. They really do. But when you see that GED, it's just like, wow, this person dropped out for a reason. Like, why would they do that? And you never know why, but you know they did. For whatever reason, they didn't finish their school. And they went towards an alternative educational route. And this is all because of the marriage that was above them. Now, maybe it's not. Maybe they had totally happy parents and they just chose wrong choices. That's a possibility. However, most of the time, it's different. Most of the time, the kid is getting emotionally impacted in ways they don't know that they are, and it affects their day-to-day activities and moods and emotions without them really realizing. They can't go and fight with mom and go to dad and complain about it. They can't fight with dad, go to mom and complain about it, make it all go better. They have to cope with it themselves, and the underdeveloped brain just does not have that kind of capability all the time. Sometimes it just takes a toll on mentally weak individuals. Sometimes it's single kids, sometimes it's just two kids, and sometimes they just don't have enough support to keep themselves going. Now, I kind of see a trend when there's a lot of siblings, like 3 to 6 siblings. They tend to do better in the world because they have that emotional support of their age group and their blood, and they sometimes share rooms, and this creates a support bond that's closely knitted between the siblings, the 3+ siblings. Now, I'm not saying that 2 siblings or 1 sibling doesn't make it out. I'm just saying it's a higher success rate for these kids if their parents' marriage before them is garbage or trashed or just destroyed or not even present. Now, I don't know if I'm making any sense to what I'm trying to say here, but basically what I'm really trying to get across is it's not easy for a kid with divorced parents to get the same childhood experience as it is with kids with happily married parents. And this could go for the same as just a destroyed marriage. Those kids could go through the same exact stuff. And I really wish I had another, 2 more perspectives on this podcast here, because I know 2 people in particular. One with just a dad, one with both parents that they go back and forth between, and one with just a mom. And I wish I could have all 3 of these perspectives on the podcast right now, as well as one with just happily married parents. But within my friend group, that's really not the case. But hey, it is what it is, man. But the question at hand was, is marriage dying? And my short answer, plain and simple yes or no, would be yes. It is kind of dying. Not dead, but dying off. But it will never go completely dead. There will always be marriage because that is something that is just a goal in people's lives. And in America, we were built pretty much on marriages, in my opinion. We were built and sustained by marriages because those people built families, they produced families, and they all intermingled throughout the United States. It was spread across. Everybody was becoming more. They were populating the area, and these marriages were oftentimes sustained very well back in those days. And as it went on and on and on and evolved, marriages started to become more irrelevant because code wasn't as strict. Kids could start wearing more loose clothing, not loose clothing, but like loosely stricted clothing that showed more to attract other people. And people found heat of getting more than one person in their life, woohooing around with other peeps. And that is what started destroying marriages. And people are like, wow, would I would stick to one when I can go to many? And even though I have never taken that route, it doesn't sound like a fun one to go on. I highly recommend that you find someone in your life and stick with that one person. Maybe it doesn't work out the first time. You find a different person. Maybe it doesn't work out the second time. But never have more than one. It's what's corrupting people. They're seeing their parents are getting divorced, and they don't have that vision of, wow, my parents had themselves. That's all they needed. They have this vision of, well, my parents got a divorce. They found somebody else. So maybe I can just find somebody else and then find somebody else and then probably find somebody else. So it's this terrible, toxic vision that is being put off into, kids or teenagers' brains, and it carries over into their actual life. So, they say monkey see, monkey do. Your parents get a divorce? I can get a divorce one day too. That's in the back of your head. I have found out that throughout my life, so I'm a pretty strong kid. I had that base. I had I only have one full blood brother. But now that I'm adopted, I have, 2 more brothers. And then the house that I was going back and forth between, with the close family friend, I had pretty much 3 more brothers there. So that guidance through all those guys, because they were all boys, the guidance that I got between the 2, between the 3 or 4, was solid. They were all good guys, and still know them all today pretty closely, and we're not as close-knitted as we once used to be because of a restriction, but that's okay. A couple of restrictions doesn't hurt, but we both knew our own struggles in different perspective situations. We didn't both have divorced parents, but we both had our own perspective situations, and I'm not gonna go into those in this episode or anything like that. But I'm gonna say everybody has their own perspective situation with their parents. Maybe it's good, maybe it's bad. But all I'm saying is the support is what gets you through it. Having a base, a group base of probably five people who are all close. Not you're close with them, he's close with you. The other 2 are close, and you know one of them. But you all 5, like a group chat pretty much. You all 5 know each other. You all 5 hang out often. It's a group. It's not 2 people, because 2 people can fall apart. However, when you have a group of 5 and you get a little bit of each person every day and you hang out with them all, you're not going to get sick of those 5 people in 2 years. If you hang out with one person, you could get sick of that person hanging out with them every day for 2 years, That happens a lot with friends. But if you have that group of 4, 5, maybe even 6 people, that group's not going to die off as quick because you can hang out with more than just one person. You could go to one, you go to Jimmy, you go to Joe, go to Bob, whatever friend you want to hang out with. Or you can all hang out together, and that friend group ain't going to die as quickly because there's more, quote-unquote, interaction, more activity, more to do within that group of 5, that support base, than there is with the one other. The one other's going to have plans, and then what do you do? Hang out by yourself? Do nothing? No, you got to go to one person in the friend group. Keep yourself occupied, keep yourself busy, keep yourself developing, keep yourself doing fun things, and that's what keeps kids alive these days. The suicide rate is immensely large, and a lot of these kids that are committing suicide have struggled parents. That's not all. I'm speaking for maybe even under half, maybe half. I don't have an actual statistic, but from what I've seen, it's a struggled home, or not a struggled home, but at least a struggled marriage above them, their parents. And they're not hurting them, but their parents hurting each other, affects their emotions, makes them think too much, and they're not occupied, and it takes a huge, big old toll on a person. So this is a little suicide awareness. Not really pushing towards suicide awareness on this particular episode. However, I'm saying that the marriages before people, how they're so toxic and destroyed, are hurting the next generation of quote-unquote millennials. So maybe marriage needs a reset. Maybe we need new guidelines, because the guidelines that are set for marriage right now aren't real guidelines. They are winged, and they're terrible, and people don't have the idea of what marriage should be. We need to get back to that to create the next generations below us to be better than what the generation before us has been, which is toxic marriages that are leading to toxic children. And the generation before us isn't bad. We're the bad generation because of the toxic marriages that happened before us. The people were fine, the society was fine before us. It's just the marriage itself was toxic, and it has created a bad effect on us. And so now we are the bads. The millennials are the bads. And that sucks. That sucks real bad. But in my opinion, there's no better way to fix it than with the current time. So when you get married, don't go back on that. It's supposed to be forever. Be happy with that person forever. You know what I mean? Make sure your kids are taken care of first. Make sure the generation that's going to come after us is going to be better than how we are. And that, in my opinion, is revolving around marriages. Not totally. Don't call me an idiot. Because obviously the government is a little bit of a problem as well. But marriages can help fix the toxicity of our society. We are learning from our parents and the actions they do. We follow in their footsteps every step of the way. And you cannot deny the fact that we follow in their footsteps. It doesn't matter if you like them or not. You learn a lot from them. So, next time you see them do something wrong, think, wow, they're my parents, but they still do wrong things. I learned a huge lesson today, and it's gonna be something I remember for the rest of my life. And it sucks. But just know you learn a lot from your parents and your role models. And it doesn't mean you have to take after everything they do. Fix the marriages for this generation to make the next generation better than we are. Take the toxicity out of marriage. Make sure they're clean and healthy, and that your kids do good with it. Like, show your kid the way. Divorces are hurting kids, and it's no fun for us. Because this generation is very self-absorbed, and it's going to be very hard to fix it for the next generation. But we can do it as a group. So I'm sorry for the little bit of a down episode, but this needed to go out. I appreciate if there's any live people in here listening. This was a live episode. And I appreciate the people listening afterwards as well. If this doesn't make much sense to you, you can totally ignore it. There was a point I was trying to get across, and I hope you received it. I tried to do it as best as I could. This video wasn't scripted. I was just speaking from my mind as best I could. So I appreciate you guys listening, and I will see you guys for Season 2, Episode 4 in a couple of days. Peace out.